today's news stories. Piers is here alongside Ashley. Good morning to both of you.
This quite far apart today.
Yes.
I love how Ashley's got all these carefully crafted notes for how it's all going to go.
She's very considered, Piers.
See, no notes, Morgan.
The opposite.
Fly by the seat of your
Go
pants.
al fresco.
Yes.
We both had a pre-show banana, so we obviously need a bit of energy for
Can you not reveal all our secrets? We've been bonding backstage, is what she's trying to say.
You shared communion over a banana, and now you're going to go to town.
We ate them separately.
Let's talk about...
Glad for the clarification.
Let's talk about this first headline. Apparently, half of parents regularly allow their children to have a day off school if they feel too upset to go in, according to a recent poll. Piers, modern parents, are we too soft?
Absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous. That's not parenting. It's ridiculous. If little Tiddles is having a little wobble about going to school, you frog march them down to school yourself. If it's a 5-mile walk, you yomp them. Right? We are going so soft in this country. And parents have forgotten what it means to be parents. They think that being a parent is being the best friend of your child and acquiescing to all the little whims and demands. No. The way to be a parent is to be a friend of your child, but to be a good, positive, protective friend who actually gives them the tools for dealing with the real world. And in the real world, you get up and you go to work. So kids need to be told, and if they're sick, fine. If they've genuinely got a fever, keep them at home. If they're just having a little wobble, off we go, Tiddles.
75%, Ashley, of the 2,000 families surveyed said they allowed their child a day off school at least once if they felt too upset to go in.
I think it's interesting because obviously we're talking a lot, especially this week, about mental health, but you're saying you acknowledge if it's physical, that's OK. I think we should be I think there's two things. The idea that parents are too soft and also the fact that why are children suffering with mental health issues? I feel like we forget that bullying has moved away just from being in the playground, which is still... you know, school can be brutal, and if you're bullied, that stays with you for life. But it's also now online as well. So actually, a lot of children can't have that switch off from bullying. There's more social comparison than ever, there's more academic pressure, but also lots of schools are still recovering from the pandemic. And also don't forget that lots of children were separated socially during the pandemic, and I think we're still seeing a knock-on impact of that. And I think, you know, with attendance, of course, there will be children that should be in school that are falling through the cracks. And we can look at, like, the very stretched social care of, like, you know, lots of children. I think it says here there's research that shows that if children who miss school regularly are more likely to reach adulthood and be on benefits, use drugs or commit crimes. None of us want that. But I think it's very much case-by-case basis. I've had friends whose children have had real anxiety, like full-on panic attacks every day having to go into school. And as a parent, how do you measure that? Like, is it worth your child to be distressed to go into school?
Well, you don't improve their ability to deal with it by saying every time they have one, they can bunk off school.
Well, most of the parents said they saw an improvement in their child's happiness and behaviour if they were allowed regular time and space away from school. They viewed allowing time off as an effective intervention rather than an indulgence.
Have you ever tried that here? Have you ever said to your this morning bosses, I'm having a little wobble this morning?
But we're not children, though, Piers. We're not children. We are being governed in different ways.
Serious point time. We should be literally training our kids in their young years for adulthood. That should be the purpose of schooling, of parenting, and all of it. And we are losing that obvious fact, which is our job, is to prepare and train children for the real world. And if you say to them every time they have a little panic attack, you're not going to school, and they do it once a week, for example, what is going to happen in the real world when they have a job where if you do that, you end up getting fired? You know, there's a real-world connection here, which is being disconnected.
Well, you also wouldn't be fired for having panic attacks, and I think it's very tricky to sit here today and encourage people to be open about mental health, but then tell children that their mental health is not important.
It's no problem. You can do both.
What I would like to say on the idea that parents are too soft these days, we've moved away from fear-based parenting because the research is stronger now that fear doesn't teach emotional regulation. It teaches children to hide their feelings. So they might be obedient in that moment, but they don't build resilience or understanding, which is probably why they find it harder to express themselves later in life, why we have, like, so much violence, because so many repressed emotions turn to anger. So I think the point you make is you think that soft parenting means there's no boundaries. Boundaries are so important, and all the research shows that high warmth and high structure are the best ways to parent. My children will have strong boundaries, but I also don't shout at them and don't instill fear into them because I want them to understand their emotions.
But I'm not talking about instilling fear into children. I'm talking about just being a proper parent. Parenting comes with duty and responsibility.
You have grown-up sons,
yeah,
and you have a daughter who's a teenager.
Who's 14 on Sunday.
Has your parenting changed from your boys who are now in their 30s, late 20s?
Yeah, my oldest boy's 32, my youngest is 24. Not really. I mean, look, you obviously learn the more kids you have, the more you learn. But the one thing I've absolutely learned is there's a real crisis amongst young people from the start of smartphones in 2010. You know, this is the anxious generation, as Jonathan Haidt said in this brilliant book. We discussed it actually last time I was on. Yeah. And the point being that they're exposed to so much stuff which I wasn't when I was young. But we've got to somehow recalibrate these anxious minds and give them the tools to better deal with the real world. And I don't think this whole thing of, all right, they may be feeling like having a bit of a dodgy morning or whatever. I know from my experience with my own kids, when you actually say, come on, we're going to do this, halfway to school, they're fine. Right, so you cannot pander to that kind of thinking because the moment you give them the day off, they'll want another one and another one. It becomes an escape route from whatever it is that they don't want to deal with. Actually, equipping them to deal with what they have to deal with is a far better use of your parenting time.
I wonder if the next story will recalibrate how they're feeling.
Well, teachers at a Lancashire secondary school are planning a strike action after the school brought in a virtual teacher to deliver maths lessons. What's going on here, Ashley?
So this virtual teacher is considered a full-time member of staff. Do you know what? This actually really concerns me.
So essentially, it's not an AI teacher, it's a teacher who's on Zoom in the class at the front of the class. So the teacher will be live in front of the class, it's just actually not physically there.
And there's a teaching assistant in the room too.
I just find this very concerning because I think we all know that we learn so much better when we're in person, but also teachers are so much more than just people who deliver education. I'm sure that we all remember certain teachers' names that we've had. For me, like Mr. Manger, when I was a teenager and self-harming, he was the one that identified it. He was the one that spoke to me. And I think, you know, whether this is because of cost-cutting, we are devaluing teachers who I feel like are already devalued so much because they are so much more. They not only are teaching the education of the future generations, but they can be like a lifeline for children, especially when you don't know what they're leaving behind at home. And also, children are still navigating identity, belonging, mental health issues. Like, I just really fear what classrooms will look like if they just sit on Zoom all day. It's hard enough to get children to concentrate anyway when you've got a person in the room.
So this is the top stream of maths, and also what the school are saying is, in actual fact, they've had trouble getting a teacher. So what they're saying is in disadvantaged communities, they've had to settle for inconsistent teaching or a long-term supply cover in certain core subjects. So this means that they'll then get an exceptional teacher who'll be teaching them and then someone to monitor the classroom at the same time.
You're very quiet, Piers.
Well, I was actually reeling from the shock of slightly agreeing with it.
It's that banana.
It was a really weird sort of transcendental feeling.
It starts with the banana.
I've actually said something that actually sounds vaguely sensible.
You speak to your friend Nick Ferrari. Slowly, I will try to
weigh you down.
No, I'm going to de-woke you. It's a recalibration process. It's a little bit complicated, this. I broadly agree about the teacher thing. I mean, I remember all my favourite... I mean, one of my favourite teachers was Mr. Freeman at Lewis Priory School, who, as my parents reminded me, one parents' evening, the entire meeting with Mr. Freeman went like this. My parents sat down and he went, here's his parents. Your son is a complete and utter buffoon. And that was the end of the meeting.
A very wise man.
That was it.
A good teacher can cut through. He was great. He was great. He was actually a very good teacher. But the point being, I think, that you need to have the classroom environment. We knew from the pandemic how ruinous it was for so many kids to be disconnected from their friends, from their proper teachers, and so on. However, my daughter, for example, has extra maths with a maths tutor and extra French as well. She's at a French school. She loves it. And if you get a really good teacher, actually doing them by Zoom can be fine, right?
Yep.
But it should never be a replacement for actual human teachers. But when you give the clarification about why they're doing it and how that can be helpful, I'm not against that in principle. I mean, a very good teacher is going to be beneficial however they're giving you the teaching. But you cannot beat interpersonal relations. I mean, this applies to everything in life. We're becoming a very disconnected society where young people in particular, a lot of their connections with people are virtual.
Yeah.
And I just think that is not a healthy thing.
This is the maths class, it's the top stream.
Top set.
They will have other classes with teachers, of course. So to your point, actually, they will have teachers that can spot those things. And equally, you'd imagine that if it's the top stream, they're a group of kids that are keen to learn and they're not going to be distracted. And actually, if it allows the other teachers not to be spread so thinly, and they can have somebody come in, should the other teachers be striking at Christmas? And
in 20 years' time, it's going to be humanoid robots.
Capitalism here. I think. Why is there not enough teachers? Is it because they are overworked, underpaid, and so many are leaving because they have a retention problem? So we don't replace teachers. We don't fix the problem with screens. We're already worrying. We know from lockdown ourselves, like doing things on Zoom, it's not the same. We are human beings and we need community and connection. Yeah. So I think rather than just being like, well, we'll get cheaper, like, we'll do it all virtually. It's like, no, we need to...
I was saying, we are heading towards a robotic life, right? I mean, in 20, 30 years, it's almost certainly this show will be presented by robot versions of these two.
It'll be so much better.
It'll be a robotic Ben Shepherd. I mean, what's the difference, some might argue.
Not much,
but it'll be,
human.
But they will literally be looking like us, sounding like us. They'll have filtered in every opinion you've ever expressed. And I've seen that Elon Musk showed me his Optimus humanoid robots. We were at an event together. It is terrifying. These things were dancing like Michael Jackson. He said they'll do all domestic chores. We'll all want at least one. I sound like I want about 10.
So what will we do?
Huh?
What will we do?
We'll be paupers at the bottom, and there will just be a few billionaires.
Now, you two of you shared a banana, or you both had a banana before you came on.
To clarify, we did not share.
Very, very confusing opening statement
We
about
did not share a banana.
Right? Let's just be clear. They were separate bananas.
Okay.
We are not at the joint banana stage.
We are not.
You're not quite, but would you be at the joint veggie sausage stage? And I know, Piers, this will have you... I don't know, actually, I'm intrigued at your reaction to this. EU rules are suggesting that plant-based foods need to drop meaty names, meaning vegan sausages could no longer be called sausages. It's something you've called for a very long time.
They're not sausages. Sausages are meat products, right?
So are you saying that the EU is right on this?
Yes, in France it's already banned. You cannot market vegan products.
What do they call it?
I think because France don't even acknowledge
You can call it a vegetarian gruel, right? Whatever you want to eat. If you want to eat the gruel...
What would Linda McCartney say?
Just remember, if you want to eat vegan gruel, your problem, not mine. I don't care. But you're not going to hijack the words I use for my good old meaty stuff. And sausage is one of them.
What about bangers? What about bangers?
Well, I think anything that is a meat product, you cannot hijack it and con people into thinking they're getting a proper sausage.
But it's been decades that we've had vegetarian sausages.
By the way, veganism is all going out of fashion. Have you noticed? All the polls say it's now going out of fashion fast. You know why? It tastes terrible. It's not that great for your health.
It tastes terrible for you, but there are vegans out there who would argue opposite.
Fine, of course. But a balanced diet is the best diet. But leave our language alone. So have your own words.
Do you have an issue with a veggie sausage being called a sausage?
I think we have much greater problems in life than worrying about how a sausage likes to identify. You know? I think the EU could be focusing on much greater things, but I do enjoy watching Piers froth at the mouth over veganism. But, yeah, I don't really...
Do you ever see a vegan sausage roll anymore? No.
I do.
Right? My campaign.
I do love
Did you finish them off?
I killed off vegan sausage rolls.
Maybe they should rebrand them the Morgans then as well. Rather than being vegan sausage, they're vegan Morgans. Now, that would be the last laugh.
Have you ever tried to eat a vegan sausage roll?
A vegan Morgan?
Absolutely inedible. I don't understand how vegans go through it every day.
I know what to get you for Christmas.
Yes.
A vegan sausage roll.
A vegan Morgan.
With a couple of bananas.
What would be... Here you go. This is a question for everybody. What would be your suggestion? If they're not allowed to call them sausages, they're not allowed to call them burgers, what's the appropriate term that we could rebrand them so they would be allowed to be vegetarian or vegan? What would they be? Get in touch. Let us know. We'll put those to Ashley and Piers and see if we can find an appropriate replacement.
Let's talk about shoplifting now. There's a new ITV show airing tonight. It highlights the rising levels of shoplifting on Britain's high streets today. And it really is, it's escalated beyond control. Let's take a look at the clip.
They will literally take anything they think they can get their hands on and get away with. I don't know what their reasons are. All I know is they're in my shop nicking stuff. The aggressive behaviour from people has intensified, and I think that's because they feel there's no outcome for them.
That consequence thing.
There isn't one, is there? People just stand
there. They used to have a thing in New York called broken windows, right? And it was under Rudy Giuliani, actually, when he was a mayor of New York. And the theory behind it was if the police took care of the broken windows, literally, someone smashes a window, they take it seriously, they try and catch the people that did it. If you look after the little stuff, has a ripple effect through into the more serious crimes. It feels to me like we've gone the other way in London in particular, where the murder rate is actually down, which is good, but the petty crime stuff, and whether it's shoplifting or people having their phones taken in the street and stuff, they're just not taken seriously enough. So people are doing this with impunity because they don't think they're going to get caught. They don't think the police are going to give them any time or attention, which they probably haven't got the time to do in their heads. But I think we should deploy a broken windows strategy now in our major cities, which is we will take all the little petty crime stuff seriously because it's not petty to the people that you're thieving off. I mean, charity shops are getting shoplifted.
Yeah. It's funny the example you use as well of Giuliani, because he did really clean up
He did.
York.
And one of the reasons they say was this mindset.
So it worked.
If you look after the petty crime, and I know so many people have had their phones nicked in the street, just walking along, and these idiots come on on their bikes, they come up on the pavement, they grab your phone, and they try and grab it while you're active on it, so they can immediately unlock it and then get into all your bank and everything else. And we just, how many of these people get brought to court? None.
But don't you think it's because people are scared that people might be carrying knives? People are so frightened now, I think.
But authorities shouldn't be scared.
Right.
Yes, so we should be scared. And actually, I can't remember his handle, but there's an amazing guy I follow on Instagram who goes around London like picky pocket, and it's like, why is he doing the job of the police force, really, because it does feel unfair. I had my bike stolen as well, and that's another thing, that once you've lost a bike, you know that the police don't have time to follow it up. Yeah. So what is the incentive? I think there's two things. So they're saying shoplifting is up 13% this year, and it's costing business about 2.2 billion. So obviously you've got on one side organised crime, and I think a lot of those people are just like shoplifting fearlessly. But then I think on the other side, and I don't want to make excuses for theft before you make any
Is this the woke stuff coming now? You're going to start feeling sorry for them?
It's desperate. There was the other side of desperation, because when you think 10 years ago, you didn't see security tags on things like baby formula. You might see it on like an expensive bottle of champagne, but now, like going down baby aisles, it actually breaks my heart to think that people are having to steal, even in Margaret Thatcher's era.
Hang on.
Baby formula.
That's not why they're stealing
provided
babies.
for
No,
free.
they're not stealing because they're desperate. They are people stealing it to order so they can sell it to other people.
Well, that's the organised gang section. But I do think people will be shoplifting out of desperation, and I'm never justifying theft, and I'm also never justifying people attacking people who work within retail. But I think to fix shoplifting, you also need to look at the root causes, which is addiction and the cost of living crisis, which is like plunging people into poverty.
Actually, no, you don't. That is a part of it, but the reality is most of it is organised. It's gangs acting with impunity in all our major cities, and it's got to stop. You know, I've seen enough of these investigations now. The police are not taking it seriously enough. You try and report something like a stolen phone, see what happens. Nothing. So they've got to take it more seriously.
The Metropolitan Police have actually said to ITV tonight that shoplifting has not been treated as a priority in recent years.
There you go.
The Crime and Policing Bill also seeks to remove the perceived £200 threshold for low-level shop theft offences. So there's that theory that if you're shoplifting under £200, you're not going to get prosecuted.
If you're shoplifting 50p, it should be treated like a crime, right?
Interesting.
Broken windows. Let's go back to treating the small stuff seriously.
You can watch on ITV tonight, Shoplifting, Who's Paying the Price, at 7:30, ITV1 and ITVX.
Let's talk about this next interesting survey. It's Men's Mental Health Week. We've been discussing it, and we're doing a phone-in about it in just a few moments as well. The Loose Men yesterday had a survey that they were talking about, saying that half of men wouldn't feel comfortable crying in front of a male friend. Are you happy crying in front of a male friend?
No.
Right, actually, can I jump
What
on
about if
this?
you're chopping an onion?
Huh?
Chopping an onion.
If you're about to do the I want all my men blubbering like babies morning, noon and night speech, I'm just not here for it. Here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with being emotional, right? But the last time I was emotional was probably 12 years ago at my grandmother's funeral. There are times and a place for it. Men have been conditioned, oddly, in the last few years to be something that no woman I know actually wants them to be, which is a bunch of frequent blubbers. It's like, get a grip, pull yourself together, and get on with life.
I'm going to stop you, because you said the same thing last time you were in, and this week
I was
is
right then as
Men's
well.
Mental Health Awareness Week, and actually you said women don't want emotional men. I'm telling you...
I didn't say that.
And you also said men who cry are weak, they're blubbering, which is kind of what you're echoing
women
now.
don't actually want to be with men who cry all the time. They would like their men to be actually a little bit stronger.
Disagree, because what you have
No, you
is...
don't.
There's human emotions. There's not feminine emotions and masculine emotions. emotions. All people, unless you're sociopathic or psychopathic,
Just to be clear, I don't like women who cry all the time either.
Well, but you would also like people to feel that if they're struggling, that they can express themselves. And the problem is, if they're not able to cry, usually it has that emotional suppression has a knock-on effect. We know that male suicide is the #1 killer for men, and it spills into family life, it spills into relationship, and it also manifests in anger, which is why we have
nothing wrong with
so many
expressing
problems.
emotions, but we have become oddly a society where people seem to cry about absolutely everything. And I'm like, hang on, let's just get things in a little bit of perspective. It comes back to what we discussed earlier about young people in particular, this inability to deal with life's problems. Like, I don't know if I did this speech last time, I'll do it again. My favourite movie speech, Rocky Balboa, where he finally has it out with his spoiled brat son. He says, look, life is tough. It will beat you down and keep you down if you let it. The way to win at life is not how hard you can hit, it's how hard you can get hit, get back up, keep moving forward. That's how winning in life is done. And I agree with that.
So sometimes if you find yourself in that situation, you might need to feel like you can express your emotion and cry in order to get back up.
Of course. Listen, I've had, one of my best friends died of a horrific brain cancer about a year ago. And it was horrific, right? He was 57 and then 58 when he died. Died over 15 months, the most awful thing to watch. Of course you feel emotional about that. But I do think that life is going to send you a lot of curveballs, whether it's losing people you love, whether it's ending relationships, losing a job, whatever it may be. And I don't think that we should be conditioning men to either bottle everything up or to bottle it out all the time. There's a happy medium. There's nothing wrong. One of my issues with the phrase toxic masculinity, there's nothing toxic actually about masculinity.
That's not what it means.
No, but I don't like the phrase because it implies that being masculine somehow is wrong. I don't think it is. In the same way that being feminine is not wrong. I don't believe in toxic femininity. But there are toxic people, but it shouldn't be linked to femininity and masculinity.
Toxic masculinity refers to the rules that the patriarchy, like the
What's the patriarchy?
Be tough.
What's the patriarchy?
Be tough. Man up. It's a world that
What's wrong with being tough and manning up?
Because that is not a masculine trait. The problem is when you're saying like a girl, you're telling men that it is inferior to be like a girl. I want my son to grow up knowing that his emotions aren't weak, and if he has problems, that he can go to his friends. I would hate to think that he will ever get to a stage in life where he feels like he has to.
What is wrong? What is wrong with being strong? What is
Why
wrong
do you
with
think
being...
there's a male loneliness problem? Because men are not opening up to each other, and this week
Actually,
it's all about encouraging
one of the reasons
men to
why?
open
One of
up.
the reasons why? Because people like you go around talking about the patriarchy. You make men hate themselves.
Women are dying. Women are dying because of male violence.
Oh, please. So men are dying from women violence too. You ever check those stats? They're quite scary. So my point is this. Obviously, you get bad women and bad men, OK? That's a fact of life. But actually, nothing wrong with being masculine, nothing wrong with being strong, nothing wrong with being mentally strong, nothing wrong with manning up occasionally, nothing wrong with that phrase. All these things are perfectly OK. It doesn't mean you should bottle up emotion. No. It doesn't mean if people have serious mental health issues, you don't listen to them and hear them out. But let's try and get a grip.
I think one of the really important things about the film that Sam did was that group of men finding a way of engaging with each other and sharing how they were feeling in a comfortable environment so they could say they weren't feeling great, even if it's a number, and by the end of the football match, that's improved. But between each other, they feel like they've got a community they can...
Great example of positive masculinity. Jamie Lang, another great positive masculinity.
We're going to have to leave it there. Hello. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.